The Orlando Magic have finally done it. They have made that blockbuster trade that we have been talking about all offseason, as well as prior to the offseason during the trade deadline, or maybe even before the trade deadline. We knew this team needed to make a move. It feels like it's a win-now scenario. So they decided to give up a haul, be extremely aggressive, and one of the most aggressive moves that we have seen in probably recent memory, giving up 5 first-round picks, KCP and Cole Anthony, for shooting guard Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. Guys, welcome into Magic Digest. I'm your host, Patrick Previty. This is your one-stop shop for Orlando Magic basketball content here on YouTube. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. I say this every time, but we're trying to build an Orlando Magic basketball community here on YouTube. I think we've done it almost to this point, so I appreciate the support that you guys have given. Let's get into this trade. This is huge. They gave up 5 first-round picks, 4 unprotected, and a first-round pick swap. The Grizzlies trading Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for KCP, Cole Anthony, and a haul. Now, I think the general feeling around this trade may be it's a lot. What exactly are the Magic getting back from this deal? Where does this put them? Was it too much? And then maybe what is the Grizzlies' perspective? That is exactly what we're going to cover in this video. So let's get into exactly what they're going to give up in this deal. What are those trades? So they're going to give up their 3 first-round picks. Cannot trade them in consecutive years. So you got the 2025 first-round pick, which is at number 16, the 28 first-round pick, and the 2030 first-round pick. Now you're hoping the 28 and 30 first-round picks aren't going to be that valuable because you're going to be a championship or a true championship contender by that point. So those, I think you're willing to give up to be aggressive, at least in the right now. Now, the 2025 first-round pick kind of sucks that you have to give up the number 16 and not the Nuggets pick, which is just shortly after in the 20s. Now, they do still keep that, so they're hopefully, fingers crossed. I know a lot of Orlando Magic fans want them to use that on Walter Clayton Jr., but that is something to watch, how they end up using that. I definitely think that that means that they're going to keep that pick. I don't think that they're just going to punt the 2025 first round here this season. Now, the 26th first-round pick is probably the biggest one of this. It includes swap rights from either Phoenix or Washington. Now, this Phoenix pick is obviously something that you would like to not give up because we have no idea exactly where they're going to be. And also, this entire deal, speaking of Phoenix, may impact the Kevin Durant price. But we're going to get into exactly why this price was where it was at in this video as well. Swap rights to a 2029 first round, top 2 protected, so it's very lightly protected, but still at the end of the day, that kind of gives the Magic a little bit of that leeway. Now, this deal is exactly the type of deal that an extremely aggressive front office makes, and a lot of fans might initially say that this was an overpay. Now, it still might be an overpay, but it's something that definitely puts this Magic team into a spot that I think helps them win right now. You have a bit of a pseudo big 3. Now, a lot of teams aren't building big 3s right now, but you have a bit of a pseudo one with Desmond Bane averaging almost 20 points per game and being that shooter that you really need. Pair him alongside Jalen Suggs in the backcourt. That is some serious, when healthy, support to Banchero and Franz Wagner, who you're assuming will hopefully elevate their games next season, and that puts them into a spot, I think, with a lot of the teams at the top of the Eastern Conference, such as the Pacers, Knicks, Cavs, Pistons, even, and then whatever the Celtics might be in the future. Maybe not next season, but whatever they might be in the future. I think that that's something that needs to be recognized. This team is super aggressive, and while they can't get out of the first round from these last couple of years, it's really had to do with health, and then it was a 7-game series against the Cavs a couple years ago. So that should definitely be noted. Okay, let's take a look at exactly what Desmond Bane did last season. He was a little bit more inconsistent than you would have liked, or I think the Memphis Grizzlies fans would have liked, but their franchise is looking like it's going into a different direction. But the jury still remains out on that, but they have a lot of draft capital. It should be interesting how they end up retooling, maybe not a full rebuild, but a retool. 19 points per game, 39% from 3, 48% from the floor. Definitely efficient. Now, not as consistent as I mentioned last season as he has been in his career, but Bane is one of 3 NBA players with 800 made threes and 40% three-point shooting since entering the league in 2020, and has shot 43.2% on catch-and-shoot threes in his last 5 seasons. He'll be a major boost for the Orlando Magic, as I've mentioned ad nauseum this year. If you are new here, the Orlando Magic were the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA last season, but they were also one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the last 10 years, going back to those really, really bad Lakers teams, at the very end of Kobe and, before LeBron came in when they were, winning Summer League trophies. That was how bad they were. And then if you go even further, they also rivaled one of the worst teams in the NBA or in NBA history, that Bobcats team in the lockout season. They were one of when we say that this team was really bad at shooting, they were one of the worst shooting teams in recent memory, especially with the advent of the three-point shot essentially being the most important and critical thing to a team. This team was able to be a playoff team with an elite defense and 2 all-star caliber players who were injured last season, made the playoffs, competed hard against the Boston Celtics, maybe a little bit dirty, but still at the end of the day, were able to overcome those. If you add a three-point shooter that is capable, that is super huge for this team. So Desmond Bane fits what they need. He is absolutely a player that I definitely think elevates this team and puts them onto a level that can help them compete. Now, there's a lot of ifs, a lot of different scenarios that can go through your head, and a lot of teams that this team probably won't want to also play, but I definitely think they've got everybody has the Magic on their radar in the Eastern Conference playoffs for next season. If this team is healthy, they are a very good team and not going to be an easy out. So why was this price so high? Well, I definitely think it's partially because they had to give up. They were trying to offload some of the players that weren't going to fit with their future. Now, Cole Anthony being in this deal is kind of unfortunate because fan favorite, but it's a player that I've talked about and kind of been back and forth on. He helped this team stay afloat last year. When Paolo and Franz went down with the torn oblique. And Jalen Suggs was fighting through his own injuries at the time. We weren't aware, but he helped this team stay at 500 in the month of December, hit multiple game-winning shots, and helped this team stage multiple comebacks against some very good teams, some bad teams, but helped this team in the regular season. But after his slump at the start of the year and resurgence in the middle of the season, he still found himself as the odd man out in the Boston Celtics playoff series. And I think that that was his nail in the coffin because he, as we now see, was truly the odd man out. You have Anthony Black in the fold, who could be an amazing defensive player and a really good piece off of the bench for a team that is looking to hopefully compete for championships in the years to come. Cole Anthony was not going to fit that, especially after you paid Jalen Suggs and he had a very movable contract. Now, still, Cole Anthony was going to have to, if you give him to a team like the Memphis Grizzlies where he doesn't exactly fit maybe what they want to do in the future, you're probably going to have to play with maybe we give you an extra pick. Maybe we give you a pick 5 years from now, especially if you don't think it's going to be as valuable. I definitely think that is part of it. But the main part of this is definitely going to be the fact that we ended up offloading KCP. He still had a couple more years left on his deal. I believe one of them is a player option, but if not, it's a team option. $43 million. He was just a dud. He essentially robbed this team for a year of their money and was not the free agent acquisition that we all hoped. That is probably his contract, and offloading him to the Memphis Grizzlies is probably the biggest part of this and why this Desmond Bane deal ended up being so expensive for this team. So while it works, while it is an overpay, I definitely think it's important to recognize that offloading those two guys is also a part of it. And taking away some of the potential negatives that they had this year is why this deal was so expensive. So definitely think that as time goes on, I think a lot more people are going to be saying that and recognizing that. Essentially, this Desmond Bane deal was done for a handful of picks, not the haul that everybody kind of thinks. But Memphis, from their perspective, I mean, if you get presented this deal, I definitely think you got to do it. They have an immense amount of draft capital. Keep Jaren Jackson Jr. as well as John Morant, and now they get to have a ton of fun, a ton of different assets to play with as they end up retooling. Great deal for them, obviously, and then for the Orlando Magic, looking at it through a vacuum, as I mentioned, may not be the smartest thing, but they're taking away a couple of negatives. They still have that first-round pick in 2025, and they add Desmond Bane to the fold, and it makes this team really, really good. Now, I'm very curious as to what you guys think in the comment section down below. We've talked about a handful of players, but I don't think that we've talked about Desmond Bane, at least in this offseason series. So certainly a shocking bit of news. Not a perfect deal, but definitely one that I think could be an overall positive. Hopefully this team has more moves, and it sets them up for more moves down in the future. They have a really competitive starting lineup, if healthy, and a couple guys off the bench that I definitely think will stick around, such as Mo Wagner and Anthony Black. Hopefully they can make some moves and figure out their salary cap situation. They were already headed to the apron mess. They were already heading to tax season. So like them doing it now is just hopefully setting them up to make some moves for their bench, and then now they're in a win now mode and can actually win now. And I think that is just an overall positive, but it certainly came at a price. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below from both sides, all sides, Magic or Grizzlies fans or not. Regardless, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if there was anything that I also missed, because I definitely think there could be. And as always, I'll see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.